The night was silent, but the air carried the weight of an unfulfilled oath. Beneath the dim glow of lanterns, the streets of Edo whispered secrets of dishonor and revenge. In the heart of the city, a group of men stood together, bound by a single purpose: to restore the honor of their fallen lord. They were samurai without a master, Rōnin cast into the shadows by a cruel twist of fate. But they were not defeated. Not yet. To be a samurai was to live and die by the code of Bushido. Honor was not a privilege but a duty, and a single act of disgrace could condemn an entire lineage. When Lord Asano Naganori was ordered to commit seppuku for an act of defiance, his retainers found themselves adrift. The decree was clear. Asano's domain was abolished, and his warriors were to disperse. But honor was not so easily erased. A great injustice had been done, and justice, no matter the cost, was the only path left to them. The halls of Edo Castle gleamed under the morning light, a vast fortress of authority and order. Here, the shogun ruled, his decrees shaping the fate of every man under his dominion. Among those summoned to its grand chambers was Lord Asano Naganori, a daimyo of the Ako domain. He had been called to perform his duties under the tutelage of Kira Yashinaka, a high-ranking official well-versed in the politics of the court. But instead of guidance, Asano found only scorn. Kira was a man of power, accustomed to submission from those beneath him. But Asano was no sycophant. He was a warrior, raised with the spirit of the blade, not the forked tongue of courtiers. The insults began as whispers, small humiliations meant to weaken his resolve. Kira expected bribes, gifts that Asano refused to offer. As the days passed, the disdain grew unbearable, each slight a cut deeper than any blade, until one fateful moment, when Asano's patience shattered. It happened in the presence of the court. Words dripped with venom from Kira's lips, an insult too great to be ignored. In an instant, Asano's hand found the hilt of his wakizashi. The blade flashed, steel slicing through the air, yet it did not meet its mark. Guards rushed forward, restraining him before the blow could land. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the weight of what had been done. Attacking a court official within the shogun's palace was a crime without pardon. Asano was sentenced before the day ended. He would die by his own hand, his honor stripped away in a cruel mockery of justice. And with his death, the fate of his warriors was sealed. Or so the shogun believed. The sun set upon Ako as if mourning its fallen lord. The once thriving domain stood in silent grief, its people left to grapple with the consequences of Lord Asano's demise. For his samurai, there was no greater dishonor than the unjust death of their master. Yet the law was clear. They were to disband, to abandon their swords, to fade into obscurity. The shogun had spoken, and his word was absolute. But in the heart of these warriors burned a fire that could not be extinguished. Among them was Oishi Yoshio, Asano's chief retainer, a man revered for his unwavering loyalty and sharp mind. He gathered the remaining samurai and posed the question that weighed upon them all. Was their duty to obey the shogun's decree or to uphold the spirit of Bushido? The answer came not in words but in the steeled expressions of his brothers in arms. They would not let their lord's death go unanswered. Oishi knew, however, that revenge was not so simple. The shogunate was watching, and any hasty action would lead to their immediate execution. They needed patience, cunning, and above all, secrecy. Thus, a plan was set in motion, one that would take years to unfold. But when the time came, Kira Yashinaka would pay for his crimes. To deceive their enemies, the Ronin first had to deceive the world. Oishi Yoshio devised a masterful ploy, one that required sacrifice and absolute discipline. To all appearances, they abandoned their cause. Some took menial jobs, others became merchants or monks, blending into society as if broken by their lord's demise. Even Oishi himself adopted the guise of a disgraced drunkard, his days spent in brothels and taverns, his name spoken with mockery rather than reverence. This ruse was not merely for show. The shogunate had spies, and Kira Yashinaka himself remained vigilant, fearing retribution. At first, his paranoia consumed him, doubling his guards and reinforcing his estate. But as years passed, he relaxed. The warriors of Asano had scattered, their thirst for vengeance seemingly extinguished. To the world, they were men without purpose. But in the shadows, they prepared. Oishi, ever the strategist, maintained secret correspondence with his fellow Ronin. They moved with precision, gathering intelligence, securing weapons, and biding their time. Every humiliation Oishi endured served a greater purpose. Every whispered insult, every cup of sake thrown in his face, was a step closer to the moment when justice would be served. And then, one fateful night, the message was sent. The time had come. The Ronin, scattered across the land, would reunite once more. Their vengeance was at hand. The streets of Edo lay beneath a cold winter sky, silent but for the whisper of the wind through narrow alleys. In the darkness, shadowed figures moved unseen, converging upon a secluded temple at the edge of the city. For 2 years, they had been nothing more than whispers, forgotten men, dishonored warriors. But on this night, the Ronin were whole again. Oishi Yoshio stood at the center of the gathering, his presence commanding yet solemn. Around him, 46 warriors knelt, each one awaiting his word. They had sacrificed everything, titles, homes, even the love of their families, for this moment. The deception had worked. Kira Yashinaka, believing himself safe, had let his guard slip. Now was the time to strike. Oishi unfurled a map of Kira's estate, detailing its layout, its guards, and the path they would take to avoid detection. He spoke with measured calm, outlining every movement, every contingency. They would move under the cover of night, striking swiftly and without hesitation. No harm would come to Kira's family or servants. Their quarrel was with him alone. The samurai listened, their hearts resolute. At last, the moment of reckoning had arrived. A heavy snowfall blanketed Edo as the Ronin made their way toward Kira's estate. Cloaked in white, they became specters against the frozen landscape, their breath forming ghostly wisps in the frigid air. The plan was precise. They would divide into 2 groups, one attacking the front gate, the other scaling the rear walls. Surprise was their greatest weapon. At Oishi's signal, the assault began. The front gate was shattered by a battering ram, the clash of steel ringing through the night. Guards scrambled to respond but were swiftly cut down. Meanwhile, the second group moved with silent efficiency, eliminating sentries before they could sound the alarm. Within minutes, the estate was overrun, its corridors filled with the echoes of battle. Kira was nowhere to be found. The Ronin combed through the mansion, room by room, cutting down all who stood in their way. Then, in a small garden shed, hidden beneath a pile of blankets, they found him. The once mighty official trembled before them, stripped of his arrogance, reduced to nothing but a cowering man. Oishi stepped forward and offered Kira the chance to die with honor. A blade was placed before him, a final opportunity to commit seppuku, as Lord Asano had been forced to do. But Kira, his hands shaking, could not bring himself to grasp the weapon. With a single strike, Oishi ended his life. The Ronin had fulfilled their vow. Justice, at long last, had been served. As the first light of dawn crept over Edo, the Ronin gathered in solemn silence. The snow beneath their feet was stained with blood, the bitter scent of battle still lingering in the air. In the courtyard of Kira's estate, Oishi Yoshio stood over the lifeless body of their sworn enemy. The deed was done, but their mission was not yet complete. Proof was needed, a testament to their unwavering loyalty. With precise movements, Oishi took Kira's severed head and wrapped it in white cloth. He turned to his men, each of whom met his gaze with silent understanding. Their path was clear. They would carry their prize to Sengakuji, the temple where Lord Asano lay in eternal rest. Only then would their duty be fulfilled. Through the streets of Edo, the Ronin moved as one. The city stirred, its people whispering in awe and fear. Word spread quickly of what had transpired. The warriors neither spoke nor wavered. When they arrived at the temple, they knelt before Asano's grave, placing Kira's head upon the stone. Their vengeance was complete, and with it their fate was sealed. The shogunate wasted no time. News of Kira's death reached the shogun's court by midday, and orders were issued immediately. The Ronin had defied the law, had taken justice into their own hands. Though the people hailed them as heroes, the shogun faced a dilemma. If he allowed them to live, he risked undermining his own authority. If he executed them, he would destroy the greatest example of samurai honor in generations. The Ronin did not resist when the shogun's guards arrived. They followed willingly, kneeling before the shogunate as Oishi spoke on their behalf. They had never acted out of rebellion, he explained, but out of duty to their lord and to the principles of Bushido. They accepted whatever fate awaited them. For days, the court debated. Scholars, lords, and officials weighed the matter carefully. In the end, a compromise was reached. The Ronin would die, but not as criminals. They would be granted the honor of seppuku, a warrior's death, preserving their dignity and ensuring their place in history. On the appointed day, they faced their end without fear. Each Ronin, one by one, took the blade and met death with the same resolve with which they had carried out their vengeance. When the last had fallen, a hush settled over Edo. The legend of the 47 Ronin had been written in blood and steel, a story that would never be forgotten. The cold wind of Edo carried a solemn hush as the final preparations were made. The 47 Ronin, clad in white burial robes, knelt in a quiet courtyard, their expressions calm, their souls resolved. They had reclaimed their master's honor, and now they would uphold their own. The shogun's decree was absolute. Seppuku was the price for their defiance. Yet, in death, they would transcend disgrace and become legends. Oishi Yoshio was the first to kneel before the ceremonial mat, his face unreadable as the blade was placed before him. With steady hands, he grasped the dagger, drawing it across his abdomen in the sacred act of self-inflicted death. One by one, his comrades followed, each falling with dignity, their blood mixing with the falling snow. Edo watched in reverence. This was not execution. This was the final proof of their unwavering loyalty. When the last warrior lay still, a hush fell over the city. The people did not see dishonored criminals but men who had embodied Bushido in its purest form. They had walked willingly into death, and in doing so, they had secured their place in eternity. The story of the 47 Ronin was complete. Though they had perished, their spirits endured. The people of Edo built shrines in their honor, and their graves at Sengakuji became a place of pilgrimage. Year after year, samurai, scholars, and common folk alike came to pay their respects, lighting incense and whispering prayers of gratitude. The tale of the 47 Ronin spread across Japan, transcending time and generations. Plays and poems immortalized their sacrifice, their deeds becoming the gold standard of loyalty and honor. Even the shogunate, which had ordered their deaths, acknowledged their righteousness. No ruler, no decree, no force in history could erase what they had done. Centuries later, their legacy still stands. In the heart of Tokyo, at the temple where they were laid to rest, visitors bow before their names, tracing the kanji etched in stone. The lesson remains unchanged. Honor is eternal, and those who uphold it will never be forgotten. The 47 Ronin had defied the greatest power in the land, not for rebellion, but for justice. And in the end, they won because legends never die. If you enjoyed this epic tale of honor and sacrifice, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more legendary stories from history. Turn on notifications so you never miss an incredible story of warriors, heroes, and forgotten battles. Your support helps keep history alive.